Welcome to Two Movies Enter. Maybe one movie leaves. The show where we pit two similar styled movies against each other in a battle to the death to see who comes out on top. This week's show, it's going to be Mel Brooks' comedy classic Spaceballs versus Rise of the Skywalker? Yeah, Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker. That's what it is. Yeah. Welcome to the show. Now, like I was saying, this week's show, it's all about it's Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker. Or is it Rise of the Skywalker or Rise of Skywalker? It's just Rise of Skywalker. I sound like a fucking boomer there with the Rise of the Skywalker. Yeah, versus Spaceballs. I suppose it's to kind of, before we get into anything, I'd say the whole thought process was anyone who's familiar or kind of like looking at anything online at the moment around Star Wars, be aware of like the new show The Acolyte, which seems to be contentious, I suppose, as most things with Star Wars seems to be for some reason with people now when it comes out. So you got like the cultural war going on, where it's, you got like some people say, oh, it's woke piece of crap and it's, I don't know, and then the other side saying, well, I quite like it and stuff. And all that I'll say is, well, I don't have any time for the cultural war stuff. Laura definitely doesn't. She probably isn't even aware what the Acolyte is. No. So our kind of things about Star Wars is not based on any of that. And all that I'd say about the cultural war stuff is people on either side of it really need to kind of realise that they're just pawns in a marketing game, really. So like the people that are getting angry over Star Wars are advertising it for other people, and then people that are into that whole kind of thing, they'll automatically go, well, I'm going to like it if they don't like it. Yeah, so it's,
even if it's rubbish.
Yeah, it's like Marvel and DC were doing it for years with each other. Both of them benefited greatly from the Marvel and DC wars. Blur and Oasis, the Britpop thing, and now it just seems
football
to be
clubs.
Yeah, woke versus anti-woke. Which it's all just a bit silly. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Then don't be hate watching things and going online bitching and moaning about it, because you're just really promoting it anyway. So that'll be my attitude for it. And if people do like it, let them like it. What's it to you?
Why do you watch so much shit so and give out about it?
Well, it's fun, isn't it? I don't think it's going to be shit when I'm looking at things. And then I get angry because, like, you wasted my time. I'm not going to look at something and go, hey, look, I didn't like fucking Blade because Wesley Snipes was in it and he's black. They're diversifying Blade. Even though Blade was always...
I was just going to say, wasn't he always black?
Yeah, he was, yeah. But when it did come out at first, people were giving out about it, going... This is the thing that people don't... All this stuff has been going on for fucking decades and decades. When Blade came out, you had a load of people who were saying, oh, I don't like what they're doing. Why do they have to make him black? And it's like, he's black character. What the fuck? And even if he wasn't, what difference would it make?
Exactly.
Yeah, like, it doesn't matter. I'd try and base films and TV shows just on their own merit, regardless of who the cast are, or if people think that there's a message there. There's most things have a message. I quite like things that some things don't have a message, like when we were talking about Dredd and The Raid last week. They're just good fashioned action movies. My kind of feelings about Star Wars is when George Lucas was making it, he was trying to make kind of like a space western kind of pulpy thing based on Flash Gordon and all those things that he grew up with in the 50s. So Star Wars was always kind of pulpy and a bit kind of dumb. It didn't really matter, you know what I mean? That's what it is. It's like made for kids and certain people, and sometimes people make things for different audiences.
Yes.
Thinking they're not going to tire it, and if they stop making it for you, just stop watching it.
Yes.
Don't be getting mad about it. So what? You know?
Yeah.
We had that with...
That's great.
Yeah, I know, yeah, you're just rambling now. But yeah, back to the movies.
Yes.
Spaceballs. Versus Star Wars. But you see, this is where I'm kind of guilty of some of that stuff, because I thought, oh yeah, well, look, maybe we compared two things where one is like a satire of Star Wars from fucking decades ago, and I thought that's going to be better than the last Star Wars movie. because I couldn't really remember it.
Yeah.
And
Either of them, yeah.
Then I watched it and I was like, oh my god, that Star Wars movie is actually really good. And then I remembered all the things and all the reasons why I'd like Star Wars
Yes.
in the first place with it. Like, it's not by any stretch of an imagination a perfect movie. For various reasons. I think that they didn't really plan it out, the series, and that there is other stuff going on behind the scenes. But by no account is it a terrible movie either. I think it's quite a good. Actually, you can hear the cat bawling in the background.
He's agreeing.
He's like, they turned it. No, he's not. He's going. They turned it woke.
Because he's that type.
Yeah, why'd they turn Star Wars woke? Yeah. Like, shut up, Azzy. Yeah.
Poor Azrael.
But yeah, so I suppose getting down to the plot of both of the movies, start with Spaceballs.
Yes.
Spaceballs is a satire of the original Star Wars done by Mel Brooks. What year was Spaceballs in?
Was it like maybe 83 or something like that around then?
Oh god, it wouldn't have been 83. It would have been like
87.
Yeah, 87.
Oh, apologies, I'm like 4 years out.
Yeah, but a big difference between. Well, I suppose the thing is because we would have been young then. There seems like there would have been a big difference between 83 and 87. It's a significant difference.
Yeah, it's when you're between the ages of 4 and 8, like. Yeah.
But Spaceballs, it's a parody of Star Wars, but it's like the Spaceballs, which Dark Helmet is like the Darth Vader thing with Rick Moranis. They have like this city and they're running out of, well, their planet is running out of air, so they decide to kidnap Princess Vespa, which is basically Princess Leia. Hold her ransom so they can rob all the air from Druidia.
Yes.
I think is the name of the planet. And so kind of the king of Druidia gets Lone Star and John Candy
as
Barf to rescue her.
Yeah.
And along the way they discover that they can use the Schwartz, which is like the Force. So it's they try and do beat for beat a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's all just like really sort of like stupid puns, like, you know, you've got yogurt instead of Yoda, and you've got snotty instead of Scotty, you know, from Star Trek.
It's nowhere near as good as Blazing Saddles or Young Frankenstein or the producers or anything like that.
Or Hot Shots or any of those.
Or Hot Shots or any of those. I think it probably would have been a smarter comparison if we had to put this up against, say, something like Family Guy's Blue Harvest, which is actually far better as well, even though it's like 40 minutes or 45 minutes. But the trilogy, the Family Guy stuff is amazing. I think is really really funny.
Why didn't we watch that? That would
I don't, because I thought we were going to like shit on Star Wars. And then I had the thing, I was like, oh no, I actually really like Star Wars. I forgot I really like Star Wars. I didn't like Obi-Wan Kenobi, not because of anything that happened in it, just
Which
because
Obi-Wan Kenobi?
The TV series. Remember, it was just deathly boring. Nothing really happened in it. And then like when there was the big lightsaber fight between him and Darth Vader at the end, it was so fucking dark you couldn't see anything. Because it was in that weird, I can't think of it, where it was like Dolby fucking vision or something like that.
Surround sound vision.
And we just couldn't see it, and it was just like, oh my god, like the one thing that I wanted to see with it, and that kind of put me off the Star Wars
so
TV
you don't
shows.
have a thing against Ewan McGregor or against Hattie
No,
Guinness.
if they did another Obi-Wan show, I'm sure I'd probably look at it. Must look at Andor at some stage. That might be very good. The Mandalorian just kind of went up, but you know, it's like hit and miss. It's like that with everything.
Yeah.
You look at Supernatural. How many seasons were in Supernatural?
15, I think, yeah.
How many bad seasons were in Supernatural?
Probably about half.
Yeah, you know, and that's the showrunner changed and things changed, and but like we still, you know,
still loves Supernatural.
Yeah, but and then we have, like, we were focused with the Star Wars movie. It's the Rise of Skywalker, which was the last in the, I don't know, 9 films covering, I suppose, the Skywalker family saga. Well, that one way of putting it. Whereas this, it follows Rey, who's after training up to become a Jedi now, or she still isn't fully a Jedi.
Yeah, she's still in training, still learning, I suppose. So, learning to harness her
I
force.
can't remember the names of all the things, but basically the Resistance, who are now the Republic, I think. They got beaten in the last one. I can't remember the Last Jedi. I remember first time we looked at it, it was like, I don't see why people hate it so much. Then I looked at it the second time and went, oh, it's just a bad movie actually. But like, you have Kylo Ren is in charge of the First Order, which is basically like the Empire, and it starts off with that there's a signal after being picked up in deep space from the Emperor Palpatine, who still seems to be alive. So we have this race to kind of find him. Kylo Ren finds him. And he's like, oh, you go and get Rey as my granddaughter, and I want to... there's... The plot don't really matter in this. I think it's kind of wrapping up the...
If you're reviewing the plot, between the two, we're going to have to, have a chat about it, really, I suppose. Basically, it comes down to, the granddaughter of Emperor Palpatine actually ends up being good, and, the son of,
Just ruined it.
I know. And the son of Leia and Han ends up being...
Yeah, he says it's about redemption, which is very much a Star Wars thing. That happened with Darth Vader at the end of Kylo Ren. He became Ben Kenobi, which everyone was hoping for. And then, but yet people were shitting all over this for some reason. I don't I can understand it's not, but I don't know what people expect with a Star Wars movie. It's not Good Will Hunting. Yeah. Hey, how'd you like them lightsabers? Yeah.
And that's another thing people are going, oh, they're not using the right colour. How can a lightsaber have this kind of a hilt on it? Oh, they're using yellow ones now.
Yeah. Well, that was Rey's colour at the end, wasn't it? Yellowy orange kind of a thing. And as well, when she was like, oh, I'm Rey Skywalker. And it's it's the whole arc, I think, for me. I know it ended up being a bit of a mess, but the first film, it was it seemed to me like they were trying to... they were setting it up. And then the second one, it was her parents are nobodies. Which I kind of thought was a nice touch, because you want to give that thing to kids or people where it's everyone has... You don't have to be born into this special destiny and then kind of went back to it. Oh, well, she's actually Palpatine's grandchild.
Yeah, that's it.
But she kind of does...
Family connections always win out, don't they?
Yeah, and that's... Well, they don't really, because that's the whole thing where they're saying, blood isn't, and she's got all...
No, but she has... but she has, sort of... if you come from a rich family, you're going to be rich. It's that kind of thing. If you come from a family that are...
are force users, you're going to be a force user.
Oh, exactly.
But yeah, I quite liked it. I thought it's a simple plot. It should be.
It didn't fucking sound simple in you describing it.
Yeah, but that's because it's kind of, you're going with 3 movies that kind of didn't really sync up, I suppose, with it. And as well, I can't really remember, because to me it's just it's Jedis. Fighting Sith, but it's the Emperor's trying to bring back the Sith Order, and if he can get her to kill him, he can take over. But and like you were saying, it's he's just making rules up along the way, and then Kylo Ren shows up and he goes, oh, it's a dyad. I'll just suck the power out of you and become more powerful than
two of you, exactly. And he's just fucking just swerve this now, go off this way. But what plausibility as regards the story arc?
Neither one of them are plausible. Although I suppose they are, really. You don't know what's going on out there. This is what I was saying to you. You see people shitting all over Star Wars saying, yeah, it needs to be more realistic, or they wouldn't do this and they wouldn't do that.
Space horses.
Yeah, my problem is that it's not crazy enough.
Yeah, it's in space. It's all these lunatic fucking different races and all the rest. Go mad, go wild.
It should be. And that's the thing that's great about Star Wars as well. It was the universe building that Star Wars does, and the world building, and seeing all the different aliens.
Yeah, there's endless races of aliens and stuff,
Yeah, but it's just the whole thing, even where Rey shoots the lightning, she does the force lightning thing, and accident thinks that she's after killing Chewie with it. And I thought, I was yes, that's what it should be. It shouldn't be this thing where it's struggling to lift a stone with the force. Yeah, it should be superhero. It should be tearing buildings down and just mad shit where you kind of go, oh proper my force. God, yeah.
That's it, because otherwise, why is the Jedi so special? I've moved a coffee cup slightly on it. Yeah, it's I can do that if I trip as I walk past it,
and the Sith leaves a rim.
Yeah, doesn't use a coaster.
Yeah. Oh my God! God damn you, Dart Coffeeus.
Dart coffee.
But so which would you think is a better plot?
Rise of Skywalker is probably more complicated insofar as fucking a normal plot. Spaceballs is probably a little bit more, I suppose, encapsulated. It's literally if you take away all the stealing oxygen and all the rest, it's literally just it's hero goes after princess.
But there's not really a story arc in Spaceballs, is there?
I don't know.
There is a redemptive arc.
It's your usual trope. It's the hero, the kind of the bad guy hero or whatever, the swagger and sort of hero with his little furry sidekick. They go off on a quest, they save the princess, they win the princess heart over, and they end up marrying because, oh look, he's a prince as well.
But you can't have that in Star Wars as well.
You do, but what I'm saying is in Spaceballs, a lot more, it's just it happens. It's a lot more encapsulated. It's this happens, the end. Whereas in Star Wars, it's just fucking 15 films later and a Christmas special and a couple of comics and a few TV shows.
I do think the story arc is better. I think there is an actual arc though in it. That there is that redemptive. it pays off the characters and it sets up more stuff for Rey. And I quite like the characters in it, I'll say. I quite like Rey as Skywalker, because people are sort of, I can't believe she's ruining it. I don't think she did, because I think that Luke was quite a boring hero in the original trilogy. As the Jedi are meant to be, very kind of clean cut, and I think she's quite like that as well. We're very stoic, I suppose is the word for it.
She kind of always tries to do the right thing without any great struggle. It's just this like little goody two shoes kind of thing. Yeah. The thing that made Luke a good hero and the other things as well is his vulnerability. And I think she's extremely vulnerable in it as well, where she's crying over, and kind of like, feeling that she's after failing, and like you can see she actually gives off fear when she sees the Emperor first, so it is someone facing up to their fears. Like I think with the original Star Wars trilogy, it was more kind of, it was like, go face your fears, and he went into a tree and he faced his fear, and then he was like, now I'm no longer afraid of anything.
Whereas this, it was like she was constantly facing, to go along the way. So I'd give it to Rise of Skywalker.
Well, I suppose I'll go with you insofar as there is a lot more going on in the Star Wars universe. Spaceballs really is just a 3-act kind of a usual thing, I suppose. So it's more of a payoff at the end of Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So onto entertainment. We didn't say, if people are new to the show, we go through kind of like we break the things up into 10 different categories and we give them a point.
We kind of pit them against each other for each category, and whoever wins out gets the point.
So it's our way, instead of just sitting here talking about the movies, and then going, I prefer that. We're trying to break things down more, so we give them points, so we can be a little bit more, maybe objective. Where like you can never be truly objective, I think, about art.
Not objective.
But still, it kind of gives a breakdown of where kind of like one film might be slightly
where you're
better
after giving the points or whatever. And again, as we say at the end of every show, this is our opinion, so it is obviously subjective. Most films that we do look at, I would advise going off and seeing 2 of them.
Yeah, we're not going to pick 2 shit movies. Well, we might do at some stage, but we're not going to pick a movie that we think is shit compared to one that's awesome. Like, it's never going to happen. We're not going to have, like, say, fucking, like we've talked about some films, and we're not going to have something like Terminator 2 versus, I don't know, something like The
Notebook.
Yeah. Or like a B movie thing where it's like, that's not fair, that's not good, They're two, like, guaranteed these 2 things are 2 very different things, but I still think they have their fan base, and
they're the same genre. They're exactly the same universe. It is a Star Wars universe, and it is, it's Mel Brooks at the end of the day as well.
But next category is entertainment value or rewatchability.
Spaceballs is really only something you watch once and then you don't watch it again for about 10 years.
It's I think I had way fonder. This is how nostalgia fucks with you. I was like, Spaceballs, but I saw it coming up on Amazon Prime, and then looking at it was like, oh my god, this is kind of awful. It's not really funny at all.
So a lot of the jokes aren't landing, and it's not that they would have landed years ago and it's just from a distance they don't land. It's just it's not super funny.
It's quite painful watching it in parts.
Some of it, Now some of it, like, of course, if Rick Moranis is Dark Helmet, he's quite funny. Do you know what I mean?
Even with that, it's just,
I know, but I suppose the standout star for me would be John Candy as Barf.
Yeah, John Candy is good in everything.
Yeah.
Like, you could have John Candy in Schindler's List as one of the Nazis, and you'd be kind of like, look at him.
He's kind of funny.
It's a shame he died. But he's good in it.
Yeah.
I never realised it was Dom DeLuise playing Pizza the Hutt, which put me off eating pizza for fucking years.
Until the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles helped you back. But that scene was pretty fucking gross as well. It was hilarious. But you see, that's the thing, there's a few standout moments like that, but overall it's just, it fell a bit flatter than you would have hoped for.
Bill Pullman isn't great in it either, as Lone Star. It's just, but I don't know. It's just you look at it and you kind of go, it's something I could see liking as a kid, but
that's the thing. I do think it is aimed at kids. Like, even I know the cast is like, they're sort of, you've got Joan Rivers doing the voice of like Dot Matrix and stuff like that, and there are like there's good beats. The Millennium Falcon is like this fucking shitty kind of
Winnebago
camper van, and there's all these like, they're all very clever touches, but at the end of the day you're kind of
it's just not
you
good.
get a little bit of it's like I exhaled
you're not going to be
quickly like, through my nose rather than laugh out loud.
It was just when we were looking at it then I was like, I remember getting bored of this one as a kid as well. I liked it the first time, and then the second time it was like, I don't know,
So I suppose, from that entertainment value and rewatchability, it's going to go to Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, without a shadow. I'd look at
There's so
Rise of
many action
Skywalker.
scenes in it.
Yeah.
And, like, the special effects are fantastic and fair.
Yes, they are. You can't say that they're not. And it's an entertainment movie. Like,
Well, and I suppose it wraps up as well all the sort of parts of nostalgia from your childhood. Oh, look, there's Luke, and oh, look, there's Leia, and there's. It kind of ties up everyone's story, and you get to see everyone again.
Yeah, and the cute robots as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the little guy who does the brain operation on 3CPO.
Oh, yeah.
And he's quite funny. Like, there's a bit where
loads of stuff for kids like that, or for adults as well. Because I was giggling away at it.
But
too.
when he shows up at the end, when they're going in to attack all the Star Destroyers, and he just like meh, really kind of, and that's what Star Wars should be. Like it should be just fun. I think Star Wars theme, identity, and I look, fucking breaking it down, I think Rise of Skywalker is going to trounce Spaceballs. In it, really, like, I mean, even theme, because like Spaceballs, it's a fucking parody of things.
Yeah.
So I suppose breaking away from what we normally do, we'll kind of skip through the ones that so theme is going to go to Rise of Skywalker.
Because Spaceballs is just, as I said, it's just a very one-trick pony kind of thing.
The acting, I suppose we can judge it on the acting a little bit.
Now, as regards comedy acting, like, I mean, I do think, as I said, John Candy is fucking hilarious in Spaceballs. Pizza the Hutt, as you said, very, very funny. But the rest of it, Mel Brooks, I suppose, is quite good as Joe.
But he just plays Mel Brooks, doesn't he?
Does,
He's the same as like the mayor in
Blazing Saddles.
or whatever he was in Blade, or the official in Blazing Saddles, or president. I can't remember what he said,
But I mean, there are some nice touches in that, like, sort of him being totally covered. He's like, Mel Brooks is entirely gold and tiny as yogurt. There are some really hilarious laugh out loud kind of moments. Joan Rivers is kind of perfectly cast as dominatrix. But then you go over to acting over in Rise of Skywalker.
I thought Ray was very good in it. I thought it was
Kylo Ren was fucking great.
Adam Driver is great in it. Kylo Ren is right. My biggest complaint about Rise of Skywalker is that the Knights of Ren, who they kind of built up over it, they didn't really appear in it too much, and I thought the final showdown with them, maybe they're still around, maybe he didn't kill them all with it, but like, they were going to be the big bad scary kind of dudes, and they just kind of showed up and kind of
but I mean, you have again our characters and performance. You have an awful lot of people who are heavy in alien makeup. You have people who are like not even in the robot that they're voicing all the rest, and to be able to have that kind of, I suppose, the depth of acting and performance that, like, you feel really sorry for C3PO.
It's like, there's one, it's the way that they edited with 3CPO with some of the stuff where he's like, you are not sticking that in my brain, and he's just like,
But I mean, even when he's like, I lose all my memories, and you're my friends and all the rest, you know what I mean? But I'll get to make new it's just, the whole thing is just to be able to do that, to like basically walk and tin can, which is what he gets called quite often.
And you walked off, I think, to the toilet, or maybe you fell asleep a bit, where Han Solo shows up in Kylo Ren's mind, and he's like, it's after Kylo Ren has been resurrected, and I think there's like an implication that because of like the good forces after going into him, it's after nearly kind of killing off the bad side of him, and like Harrison Ford is like, it's a very touching scene, I think, and it really does do the thing where you kind of look at it, and then when you see the way he acts, God, he would have been a great Jedi, like, in the films, with stuff. I think he's a great villain, and I think he's kind of funny villain in it, like not fucking Star Wars. SNL, they did a good sketch with him in it, as an angry boss. I remember undercover boss, and so he kind of leaned into it a bit. But I think he played it with there is depth to.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I mean, there's feeling, there's, sort of grappling with his own sort of sense of morality, or what should he do, and what's right and what's wrong, and and again, I suppose going back to sort of the older characters, the likes of Luke and Leia and Han and all the rest, it's amazing how over, like, how many years ago? It's 40 odd years at this
Yeah.
stage, and they're still, like, they come on screen and it's Princess Leia.
Yeah.
It's Luke. Do you know what I mean?
And of course,
yeah.
the sad thing about this one was where, like,
Carrie Fisher.
yeah, actually died. I think they got a couple of scenes, or maybe they took scenes from the old film that they shot with
they had some
and put it in.
stuff shot.
But like, I mean,
it's
she
very,
died in the film as well.
Yeah,
so
very, very bittersweet moments, like,
Yeah.
you know. But, yeah. And, like, I mean, overall, and, like, that's the thing, again, you have all the tropes of the characters. Like, you have, Jesus, I fucking can't remember. You've got Finn, and you've got, what's the other lad's name?
Oh God, I know Oscar Isaac's character.
Just got out of my head there,
Poe
yeah.
Dameron.
Yeah, Poe, there we go. Like, I mean, they're sort of, you know, he's the sort of the Han Solo of the current
Yeah.
one and all the rest, but he's his own person as well. You know what I mean? So I think that's very good. It's like, okay, he's that one.
Yeah.
He fulfills that role, but he's his entire own personality.
Finn, like John Bodega, I think his name is. Like, I hope he comes back in the new films as well, because I thought that character, there was a load that they could have done well, and I really liked that there was nearly that bait and switch with him in the first one with the Force Awakens, with the trailers where they had like a shot of him with the lightsaber.
Yeah, and you think he's going to be the one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I like the way he was like. Turns out that he was like a janitor stormtrooper. He wasn't even a proper stormtrooper. He was this janitor that got caught up in shit. But like, I mean, that was the cool thing about it as well. It was like he didn't have this big destiny or this thing. He was just a regular person.
Yeah.
And even at the end of this Star Wars, I think that's what it was about, people power. Where like all these ships show up and like the general of fucking the Star
They even
Destroyers.
say it. It's like
where'd
it's
they get
just
the Navy?
people.
Yeah, it's just people.
It's just people all finally banding together.
Yeah.
And, like, I suppose I was actually watching it last night, you know, or the night before when I was thinking about it, and I was kind of going, we should do that now. Why are people not doing that now? We need an uprising. We need a revolution. Fuck the powers that be.
And then blame Star Wars for it.
Exactly. Yeah, they told me to do it.
But like, that's the whole thing when people go on about Star Wars as well. Like,
It always
not being
was this
political,
whole thing, yeah,
it
it
was
was.
about rising up against fashion. Nearly any hero film is standing up for what's right, and kind of looking after people that are vulnerable and accepting people.
Exactly.
Like, you didn't have Luke going around and then like he bumps into what's he's fucking Lando Calrissian and says, "You can't get on my ship."
Because you're from Cloud City.
Yeah. The fucking Wookiee can.
The talking carpet can.
But you know, it's always been about acceptance of people. It's always been about diversity, like,
Yeah,
you know?
and people banding together, like, do you know what I mean? And not the underclass, but I suppose people that are poor and oppressed and all the rest.
Yeah.
If you all try and stand together, something good might be able to happen from it.
And stop
Keep
fucking
fighting the powers that be.
fight for minorities'
Fight for
rights,
power.
because we were all part of the minority. You don't fucking realise it. Like, unless you're in power, you're in a minority, kind of a thing. So yes, acting. Without going
so
Skywalker, yeah. The dialogue, storytelling, and context. Yes, that's the thing when it gets to the Star Wars thing. It's like, well, the dialogue. I don't think this is a thing that Star Wars is ever really known for, is dialogue.
No, but then again, Spaceballs.
Yeah, I don't think we can. It's maybe we just give it storytelling and context. Skywalker does a better job at storytelling. I think because you ended up watching it because you were sick, so we looked at it in 2 or 3 different parts when you were passing out being sick. So I think it probably felt more disjointed than it actually is. For you know, like I think what was the fucking second movie in the whole thing? Rise of the Clones or Attack of the Clones?
I can't remember. This is something I keep saying to you. Any film that is part of a series, it's all one giant film to me. I can't differentiate.
But that was like fairly awful. Like I liked the first one, The Phantom Menace. I really liked when it came out in the cinema. We saw that in the cinema a few times.
Yeah, poor little Anakin.
Yeah, you know, I thought The Simpsons did a good job taking the piss out, where it was like, dun, 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 and they get, let us talk about these political trade matters. Like, oh God, where there was that bit.
This is really exciting for children.
But with the action kind of got into it, but then the second one was just kind of, I don't know, it just fell off. I can't even remember the plot. It was about Anakin kind of going over to the dark side, you know.
You see, we're not really talking about those films, though, are we? We're meant to be talking about Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. With the dialogue was never really kind of good, you know. So it's like, say we forget about the dialogue. What's to do storytelling? I think Rise of Skywalker did it better. You think it's disjointed. That's what I'm saying, because you fell asleep.
Blame it on me.
But like, I mean, it was, I think, probably the more simpler thing. It was like they were all together at all times. It was about staying together. And it was just following that one thing where it's like, right, we have to find these things so we can find the bad guy and kill him. And that's pretty much what it was. There was no like offshoots.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that, but all I am saying, I suppose, is that if you're looking for a kind of a simple story or a very contained story, Spaceballs is fairly simple and contained.
Well, it is, and it isn't. It's a bit all over the place as well. You were out in the room with a bit where they land on the planet of the apes, basically, at the end of it with the head.
I know, I saw, but you see, that's how, I like that about Mel Brooks, where it's like they start watching the film they're in, they go and they rent it out, and it's...
Well, it becomes a bit of a cliche because he does it so often with things, you know, and even like where they had the alien bit thrown in, where it's like, well, if you just had to do it as a bunch of sketches...
Yeah, might have hung together.
Taking maybe the piss out of like all sci-fi movies, like the way Scary Movie did with horror films, like it might have been better, or might have stood the test of time a bit better.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, going with Skywalker again?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Cinematography.
Now, this is going to be a landslide, unfortunately. So, cinematography, visual language, light and setting and wardrobe, it just can't compare because obviously it's huge high budget versus low budget.
Yeah.
It's sort of like it's trying to look realistic, I suppose,
but as
you
well,
know.
J.J. Abrams.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. But versus Spaceballs is trying to look shonky. It's like it's deliberately like fucking the uniforms are out of place, and Barf looks like he just has fur stuck on his face, and you know it's So, but
you can't.
No, you can't argue.
No, you can't. You can't. And like, I mean, I do think I know J.J. Abrams has detractors. Not mad on all these films, but I think he did a reasonably good job with Star Wars, and like he knows how to direct. Like you can't say he can't direct. When it's now editing, pace, and effects.
I suppose insofar as you can actually keep up with, like, I mean, there's huge aerial space battles going on in Skywalker. Yeah. And you can actually kind of keep, you keep where you are within the whole thing. You don't lose sight of what's going on. It's not where it could get very, very muddled and very sort of...
Like, you look at what Michael Bay did with Transformers. I think the second film, where you're just like, what the fuck? And it's like, how can you fuck this
squealing up? Metal, like, basically.
And I think, like... It's about 2 hours 20 minutes, I think, Skywalker, and it doesn't feel like it. I think it's very quick. They fit a lot into, I think this is the thing what people have to remember with films as well. You got it's not a TV show anymore. People can fit a lot into TV shows. Keep it basic, just fucking, there's ways of doing things, and like, I mean, that's where like a lot of old westerns and a lot of 80s films fit right, because they just have very simple concept.
They stick
to it. So it's more about, it's like having a good time. And
I suppose, like, from the point of view of editing with special effects and stuff like that, I mean, obviously enough, it's going to win out as well, isn't it? But there's even some like nice touches in it. Like there seems to be a case with every Star Wars film, even though they're aimed at children, there's always like one horrifying death that you kind of go, Jesus Christ, that's a bit fucking
There is a lot of deaths.
There is a lot of that there, but there's some that you're laughing at, but you're still kind of going, Jesus, that's a bit much. Like when Richard E. Grant, his character, it's the whole ship is exploding behind him, and they go to him up in the bridge, and like you see it exploding, and then it goes to a wide shot, and his body is just getting fucking shot out through space in flames,
like a dummy. And you're like, oh.
I was like, Jesus, that's a bit fucking rough. It was like fucking Darth Vader or Anakin.
That was fucking
when Anakin was having the fight there on the lava, and it's one thing that sticks out in my mind. I remember, even when I was watching it the first time, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, kids shouldn't be watching this.
No doubt it would have probably has like scarred load of
kids.
It's
after, as I said, it's after burning its way into my brain. So I'm sure there's plenty of kids growing up just like having nightmares about it. Fucking, that's why a lot of kids are scared of fire and lava, I'd say, nowadays.
But like, I mean, say even with the editing with Spaceballs, not to be continually shitting on it, but it was an hour and a half long, and it felt an awful lot longer than an hour and a half.
Could have had a bit of fat trimmed over it, like special effects for the time and for the budget weren't too bad. I mean, and some of them were.
They were.
But some were hilarious, like when you're going to Lightspeed, and it's like, my God, they've entirely shot over Lightspeed and they've gone to Plaid.
Yeah.
A few stupid things like that fit in,
But like, I mean, let's get this right. There was a lot, like, the 80s was a great time for practical effects.
Yeah.
The practical effects in Spaceballs are not good. The costumes are not really good. Even
No.
Dark Helmet's not really that good, you know? Where it's just like, look, you could have done better, really, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think it was intentionally bad. I think it was just...
Yeah,
It
maybe
was
the
just
budget
like,
wasn't thrown.
let's
at
just
us.
fuck this together
Yeah.
and look that way. Soundtrack, no, you have to give it to Star Wars. Like John Williams versus like Spaceballs.
Yeah.
And directing, vision and execution, it's going to have to go to, like what we were saying.
Why did we even do this?
I don't know, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Wait, look, it's going to be a short episode. Well, we say short, it's still like coming up on 40 minutes. But, and the it factor, one of a kind and transcendent.
Well, in fairness, I would give it to both. I won't say Spaceballs is transcendent, but it certainly was one of a kind.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be anything. The only thing close to it might be Galaxy Quest, but that's an entirely different brand of comedy. Or maybe Mars Attacks or something, but again, entirely different brand of comedy. So I suppose, like,
It does have a it factor. It's just, I think
Mel Brooks, and it's you know, it's
poorly executed.
Yeah.
I think with it, where I don't know, maybe I could be wrong with it, but it kind of feels nearly lazy, where it's like to a point where it's like, oh yeah, we just throw this fucking shit together, where it's like taking the piss out of Star Wars being a money
and there's the obvious jokes as well, you know, where Leia's like hair buns turn out to be headphones that you listen to music on, and a few bits like that. You know, there's little bits.
It's
easy
very
targets.
just immature humour,
Yeah.
you know, kind of, which there's nothing wrong. I like immature humour, but it's just, I don't know.
Married to me, aren't you?
But you know, it's not like you can't put it up there with likes of other satire, like Airplane or
Yeah.
Naked Gun or a Scary
Or
Movie.
as I
is
said,
actually
like Hot
far
Shots or
better.
any
Like,
of those. Or even Loaded Weapon, like God, that was even better.
So, like, I mean, one of a kind. Well, obviously, Star Wars is one of a kind, and it's not really going to be. This film isn't going to be noted, I think, kind of like going forward as doing anything special, kind of like for movies or anything like that. But
Yeah.
so I suppose we'll give it to Spaceballs, just so it's not like.
Total washout.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So
and
just to
just going on a
summarise, I suppose
technicality.
the count, just in case anyone is wondering, it is after going 9-1 basically, and to Skywalker. So it was a bit of a trouncing in fairness.
Yeah, it's one for one of the things that, like, this. Hopefully, for anyone that's listened to it, that's kind of for, I suppose, to try and get an idea of what type of movies we like and the way that we kind of judge movies. Did go into it thinking that, or initially before we looked at it, it was like, fucking Star Wars, fucking the new movies are garbage, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
blah,
I
blah.
like the old Star Wars.
Yeah.
Spaceballs is brilliant. I remember laughing at that when I was 5.
And then we looked at it and I was like, no, actually, it's the opposite way around. And it is like Rise of Skywalker. It has made me kind of, you know, I forgot why I liked.
But in fairness,
Star
for me,
Wars universe.
what it's done actually is I got really fucking jaded with the whole, like, it seemed like there was another Star Wars thing every 5 minutes, and I was just like, I went to such a point where I was like, no, I'm not fucking watching it. I don't care. Fuck off. You're just trying to milk it at this stage. Whereas now after seeing that, I'm kind of going, I will actually go back and watch it because this is quite good.
Yeah.
So rather than take my like fucking me contrary stance, just kind of going, I'm not going to watch it, and I'm going, just because everyone loves The Mandalorian, I'm going to not watch it.
Yeah,
I'm
I
kinda
think
going,
they
"You know what?
oversaturate
I think
things,
I will.
yeah.
I'll have a look at
Like,
at it.
The Mandalorian is good. I don't want to continue looking at it because of what they did with, apparently Boba Fett is meant to be awful, like really boring, and you need to watch that to look at season 3 of The Mandalorian, where it's like, I don't want to, why can't you just leave, you know?
Yeah, why'd you have to have all this? It's nice to have the back knowledge and to have the background to the universe, but you should be able to sit down and start watching a film or a TV series without having to go back and do fucking homework and research.
That's the thing. I don't want to go off looking at another TV series to kind of
to be able to pick up in this.
This is the reason why I stopped reading Marvel comics and DC comics, because it's like, I don't want to read 20 fucking different series.
Just know what's going on with Spider-Man at the moment. Yeah.
And like, say it's I really want to go back and look at the Clone Wars TV show. The cartoon. It's your man Geddy Tarkovsky who did Samurai Jack, did it. I've seen a couple of those and I always liked them when they came out, but never really had the opportunity to look at them, I think. But yeah, Andor is meant to be very good. We saw Solo in the cinema and that wasn't great. That was just like, oh, that could have been a pilot for a TV show.
Yeah.
Rogue One I thought was very good. But you know, most Star Wars stuff is good. It's just the TV shows are a bit gash at the moment, and that is because, like, I do blame Disney for that. They did the same with the Marvel stuff, where it's like, stop it, focus on quality over quantity.
Yeah, don't
stop
keep
fucking
throwing loads of shit out, like,
with it. I think one of the things we saw some of the Star Wars Vision cartoons. You didn't see that's my idea what Star Wars should be, where it's like loads of different kind of people coming in and to it, and that's what like the original ones were. It wasn't like just George Lucas's vision. Like, I mean, fucking what's his face? David Lynch was meant to direct Return of the Jedi.
What? That would have been a very different film.
Yeah, and he went off and he did Dune instead. So, you know, it was going to be a thing where it's like the Star Wars Visions, I think, is a great way of expanding the universe and stuff. So it's, like, for as much as people say, oh, Disney killed Star Wars, no, I think they had a hiccup with it. They got...
I think they got overexcited. They're like, all of the Star Wars things, everything must be Star Wars.
Well, I'd say they were after spending a fortune on the thing. They had a new platform with Disney Plus. And
they're after buying all the rights to it. And they're like, fuck, we need to make our money back.
With it. Like, the whole problem that we had when we were younger with Star Wars was that there was fucking hardly any of it. And then, like, when it did come along, you had that toxic Star Wars base fans were like, yeah, the fucking Jar Jar Binks. And I was like, what's wrong with Jar Jar Binks?
I saw a really...
Well, apart from kind of like the opposite of the accent,
But I saw a great 2-panel comic the other day. It's like, oh, I want to do some role playing tonight, baby. Let's do Star Wars. And then she turns up at the Jar Jar Binks head. And he's like, no!
He's a honey. But the whole thing with Jar Jar Binks, what the original plan with him was he was going to be like a Sith Lord.
That would have been so cool.
Yeah, and if people just had to shut the fuck up and just went, and like when you do look, because there was a couple of videos online about it on YouTube where
they do all the different,
and you kind of go, fuck, he does it. He's got Sith eyes.
Yeah.
And he does stuff like when there's like, he's like, oh, there's always a bigger fish in the sea, and he's the bigger fucking fish, and he's the one, like, he kind of waves his hand and they get away from things.
He's at the start of the confluence of everything. Like, he's always there when the big decisions are made and steering it gently his own way kind
but
of thing.
They have it where he is doing the fucking the force persuasion thing. You see him doing it with his fingers in the background. It's like, fucking that would have been brilliant. But no, people had to fucking shit all over, and then George Lucas was like, alright, look, fuck
I bow to fucking fans. That's why you should never listen to fans.
Don't, you know.
Screw you guys.
Don't send us messages. We don't have any fans anyway. Look, thanks for listening to today. Short one, a surprising one for both of us, I think.
I thought I would enjoy Spaceballs far more.
Not
to say it's a terrible film, but just doesn't live up to my memory, unfortunately.
It is kind of terrible. I think, like, if you enjoy it, fair play to you if you're a Spaceballs fan. There was a cartoon of it as well, apparently, which I have no recollection of seeing. But look, next week we'll be back with something completely different.
Maybe Monty Python.
No.
And now for something completely different.
It'll be Terminator 2 versus Life of Brian. So, until next week, bye.